لم يبق لنا خيار آخر للنضال. إسرائيل تعتبر الشراكة والمساواة مع الفلسطينيين في دولة ديمقراطية واحدة انتحارا لدولة اليهود، وهي غير راضية بتسوية الدولتين لشعبين، مع أنها تسوية غير عادلة للفلسطينيين. تريد منا أن نرضى بالاحتلال كحل دائم أو نختفي عن الوجود. لم نترك طريقة إلا واتبعناها من أجل إجلاء الاحتلال، سواء كانت سلمية أو سياسية. مع ذلك استمر الاحتلال ومستمر في بناء المستوطنات ومصادرة الأراضي والمياه وتهويد القدس والتطهير العرقي. تفوقهم العسكري وقوتهم السياسية والاقتصادية موجهة ضدنا لإرغامنا على قبول معادلتهم، إما أن نقبل بالدونية والمشروع الصهيوني وإما أن نقتل. وكوني شهيدا لا أخشى الموت، والغي بذلك تهديدهم وأتفوق على جبروتهم السياسي والعسكري.
People who were trapped into a corner and feeling so desperate that there was nothing else they can do. Now you think about a woman that's 18 years old and beautiful, who has lost her children, lost her father, lost her brothers, lost her mind, and she thinks that the only thing that she can do to send a signal back to the people who are the criminals of this is to do an act of reprisal, is to strap on her 60 pounds of explosives and walk out onto a bus or a cafe or a hospital or wherever where there are other innocent people and blow herself up as an example. That's frustration. But is it justified? Islamically, it is not. But can it be understood in the context of perpetuated, protracted oppression that brought about a sense of madness? Yes.
At what point is it okay to start talking about the root cause of these cases?
Look, I think that in terms of radicalization, this is obviously something we follow. Our security agencies work with each other and with others around the globe to track people who are threats to Canada and to watch threats that may evolve. I think, though, this is not a time to commit sociology, if I can use an expression.
What does commit sociology mean? I mean, let me just, again, what's the appropriate, I mean, is there some kind of rule about when you're trying to understand terror? I mean, what, is there some kind of set aside proper timeline here? I'm trying to understand, what's the line here that that the Prime Minister is getting at?
When you see this type of action, when you see this type of violent act, you do not sit around trying to rationalize it or make excuses for it or figure out its root causes.
So he came out and condemned the comments without even being asked specifically about Justin Trudeau's comments.
Would you be picking up the phone, talking to the RCMP, CSIS, Border Patrol,
of course,
Armed Forces?
Of course, I'd be worried about what specific targets there are, but there will always be more targets, more shopping centers, more public events, more gatherings than we can evacuate or than we can deal with. I mean, there is a need for security and response and being proactive and making sure that we have information, but we also need to make sure that as we go forward, we don't emphasize a culture of fear and mistrust, because that ends up marginalizing even further people who are already feeling like they are enemies of society rather than people who have hope for the future and faith that we can work together.
I mean, the major threat is still Islamicism.
Let me ask Mr. Poilievre, what exactly does the Prime Minister say when he said this isn't the time to commit sociology? What's wrong fundamentally with trying to understand why people turn to terror?
Nothing, but that's not the issue.
What does commit sociology mean? I mean, let me just, again, what's the appropriate, I mean, is there some kind of rule about when you're trying to understand terror? I mean, what, is there some kind of set aside proper timeline here? I'm trying to understand, what's the line here that that the Prime Minister is getting at? What is it?
Are you asking me?
Yeah.
The root causes of terrorism is terrorists. That's how we respond.
Really? That's
yes.
it? The root cause is terror? Okay.
Yes, the root cause of terrorism.
You're saying that's it? You have no other.
This
is it. The root cause of terrorism is terrorism. That's it?
Right.
There's no other cause?
The root cause of terrorism is terrorists.
Let's be absolutely clear about what happened. Firstly, this whole idea that Gaza, that Hamas broke the ceasefire, is just not true. In fact, it was broken after, in October, Israel killed 15 Palestinian fighters. They shot dead a mentally disabled Palestinian. They killed another 13-year-old in an intrusion. And when there was an attempt to actually get a ceasefire, negotiations were ongoing. That is when they assassinated Ahmed Jabari, completely ending those ceasefire talks. Now, it's often said, and Barack Obama made this point, he said, what country on earth would tolerate rockets being fired at them? I ask you this, what people on earth would tolerate a siege which stops basic supplies getting in, an occupation, a 45-year-old occupation, a brutal occupation at that? Illegal settlements are all over the West Bank, which are in total violation of international law. And what we've seen in the course of this onslaught...
White phosphorus on apartment buildings and homes and burn and kill and maim thousands of women and children in their beds as they slept.
It produces a white smoke that then falls down on whoever's underneath it, that burns your skin. But it doesn't just stop at the skin. It keeps going on a lot of occasions until it hits bone.
Omar Mishurin, he was 11 months old, he was a little boy, the son of a BBC journalist, and he was killed in a so-called targeted strike.
Israel receives as much foreign economic assistance as all the countries combined in the world.
They bombed a housing shelter in Gaza where they had told people to take shelter,
Now, we all want a secure and lasting peace. When we have Israeli ministers, like the Interior Minister, calling for Gaza to be sent back to the Middle Ages...
We have a $300 million package of development assistance to support that.
This money that you're sending to the Palestinian Authority is not helping us, but harming us.
We call it aid to the Palestinians. Really what it is aid to a corrupt, undemocratic Palestinian Authority.
When in the last offensive we had another minister calling for a Holocaust to be inflicted on Gaza.
White phosphorus gas, I've seen it in action. In 1982, when Israel invaded and occupied Lebanon, besieged Beirut, began to reduce it to rubble and ash, I visited the hospitals where the children were breathing white smoke from the white phosphorus that was burning within them. That's what it does. When you ingest it, you can't get rid of it. It cooks you, it bakes you to death.
We have the son of Ariel Sharon, who wrote in the Jerusalem Post talking about how Nagasaki and Hiroshima were possible solutions to be inflicted.
In the case of the aid that Canada's given to the Palestinian Authority, this is, it's stated, it's called aid, but in fact, if you look at what most of the Canadian 5-year, $300 million aid program went to building up a Palestinian security force in the West Bank that was designed to prop up a corrupt and undemocratic Palestinian Authority. If the Canadian government had actually threatened to cut off aid to the Palestinian Authority when the Palestinian Authority pursued its UN statehood bid, and Israel was actually pushing Canada to continue that.
Now, based on concrete research that we've recently conducted, it would be safe to say that between the signing of the Oslo Accords in 1993 until today, the amount of international aid donated to the Palestinian Authority by the European Union is 25 times per capita the amount of aid granted by the USA to Europe under the Marshall Plan for the reconstruction and economic recovery of Europe after World War II. In simple terms, this means that with the amount of international aid contributed to the Palestinian Authority over the last 18 years, we could have reconstructed the European economy 25 times. By the way, these statistics are taking into account currency value inflations. How is this possible? And why are so many Palestinians still living in abject poverty? Why are they not any closer than they were 18 years ago to creating a sustainable economy and stable government, which are necessary for statehood that they currently claim the right to? Where did all of the money go?
I mean, the major threat is still Islamicism.
When we have those people, we won't get a secure peace, but the way we will get it for Arabs and Jews alike, to end the occupation, end the siege of Gaza, and dismantle the illegal settlements, and finally have a just settlement for the Palestinian people, ensuring peace for Arabs and Jews and the region as a whole.